unbroken. Sent in. McManaman dodging. McManaman scoring!
Yes, what's happening, everyone? Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. We are here to preview this weekend's All-Ireland final between Dublin and Kerry. Huge anticipation, of course, going into this All-Ireland final between the two most dominant sides in Gaelic football history, between Dublin and Kerry. You know, everyone's very much calling this the El Clasico of Gaelic football. And I certainly wouldn't be here to disagree with that. You know, you look at the history of these two teams, the battles they've had down the years from 2011 to 2015, and even that iconic semi-final in 2016, and even going back 10 years ago when Kerry beat Dublin by 17 points in an All-Ireland quarter-final. So, yeah, guys, of course, we are here to preview this weekend's All-Ireland final. Going to give my opinions on what I think will happen. Going to delve into some ways that I feel that Kerry can beat Dublin. And, of course, talk about some ways that this Dublin team can, in fact, beat Kerry. But, of course, guys, first of all, if you are new around here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know down in the comments below what you think will happen going into this All-Ireland final. Who should be the players to watch out for, who will be the man of the match, and ultimately who will go ahead and win the final. So, of course, guys, first of all, let's delve into Kerry. I mean, what a year they've had, reaching the All-Ireland final, having missed out, of course, last year they didn't even get into the All-Ireland semi-finals. They've bounced back massively this year. They've shown a lot of character, a lot of hunger. And, you know, you're looking at some of those very good attacking players, David Clifford, Sean Gainey, Sean O'Shea. You've even got players like Tommy Walsh who've come back into the Kerry fold. You've an all-round list of quality in this Kerry side. You know, Stephen O'Brien, of course, was unbelievable in that game versus Tyrone. But of course, if we delve into some ways that Kerry can beat Dublin, I think the first thing Kerry will need to do, in my opinion, is they will need to have their kickouts absolutely spot on and win the midfield battle from those kickouts. And this is going to be obviously very difficult. Dublin, they press like no other side in Gaelic football at the moment. That press they used against Mayo was something just unbelievable. You know, for about a 20 to 25 minute spell, Dublin had a 12-man press. They pressed up on the entire Mayo defence and goalkeeper in Rob Henley. And Mayo just didn't have any options from that kick-out. Every kick-out was either going to Dublin's wall in the midfield of Brian Fenton, Michael Darragh-Macaulay, James McCarthy. It was just really difficult for Mayo to break through that midfield. Of course, as well, you also had Mayo trying to operate the short kick-out, but then Dublin's press and momentum and physicality would just be too much for Mayo, and they would lose the ball quite easily. Now, how do Kerry go about beating this? I think there's a number of ways. They can go man on man, like a number of sides have tried with Dublin throughout this year, but I think we've seen that that system has very much failed, mostly because no team can really keep up with the conditioning and the physicality of this Dublin side. So I think, in my opinion, what Kerry should do is they should very much overload the midfield line between the 45 and 65 metre line, and get real height on those Kerry kickouts from Shane Ryan, and Kerry might just have a chance if some of their midfielders like David Moran, Adrian Spillane, Gavin White, and Tommy Walsh, of course, if he's playing as well, if they can really press on Dublin's on where the ball is about to go to and really hound that Dublin midfield, they might just have an opportunity, and that might give them more of a chance of winning more kickouts and ultimately having possession of the ball. Now, of course, there are some very big risks with that. I mean, if they lose the ball, they'll leave a lot of space in the midfield. They generally quite leave a lot of space in their defence anyway. So that could be risky in many ways, but I feel like it's a system that could very much work. It would bypass Dublin's press if they were to go long every time between the 45 to 65 metre line. Shane Ryan has shown he does have the skill to do that. He had some very good kickouts in their game versus Cork. So certainly a lot of opportunity for Kerry if they can go ahead and utilise those kickouts. I think another thing Kerry will need to do is they'll need to have the belief in themselves. They'll need to be more accurate than they've been a lot of the times this year. And that's not to say that they haven't been accurate. Of course they have been, but they are coming up against the greatest side in Gaelic football history in many ways. You know, 61% conversion rate in that game versus Mayo. It'll probably, or in that game versus Tyrone, it will probably need to be a lot more higher than that, in my opinion, for Kerry. They do have the talent in David Clifford, in Paul Ganey, Sean O'Shea, and of course Stephen O'Brien. If they can really drive at this Dublin side and really capitalise on some of the spaces left in behind that Dublin defence, they've certainly got a real opportunity. And undoubtedly they do have the talent. They've shown, in my opinion, that they can match Dublin in terms of technical ability. Are they quite at that level yet in terms of physicality, in terms of experience? Probably not, but certainly if they can, win those kickouts into the midfield, if they can, really make hold of possession, be smart on the ball, take their opportunities and take, 80 to 90% of the chances that is given their way, they might just have a huge opportunity. Who really knows? Another thing about this Dublin side as well is they aren't afraid to very much leave spaces in behind their defence at the full back line. Jim Gavin has openly come out and explained this before, that they understand the risks that they play with. They play very high up the pitch at certain times, which does leave one or two men free at the back. But the point is, Dublin are just so good going forward, and they build up such a lead that teams are very rarely ever able to actually capitalise on that kind of space that is left in behind. So if Kerry can utilise those kickouts and win those midfield battle, who knows? There might be opportunities, and I do feel like there will be opportunities when Kerry are delving in on the Dublin defence, and they will have goal opportunities. Although Dublin have been very good in terms of limiting the amount of goals they've conceded this year. I think they conceded a goal versus Mayo, which was very much at the back end of the game, and the 2 goals versus Cork were penalties. So Dublin haven't conceded that many goals, but they have conceded a lot of goal opportunities. I quite remember throughout this All-Ireland year, even going back to matches against Meath and Kildare, and even going back to the game versus Tyrone as well, where Tyrone did have goal opportunities. So if Kerry can utilise those spaces in behind, be comfortable in possession, really drive at this Dublin side and be quick and fluent in attack, Kerry could have a serious opportunity. And I suppose then if we talk about how Dublin can beat Kerry now, in my opinion there is a number of ways that Dublin can beat this Kerry team. I mean, first of all, they're far more experienced than this Kerry side. I mean, they have won, a lot of players in this squad have won like 6 All-Irelands, some of them 5. And Dublin just know exactly what it takes. I mean, we've seen on multiple occasions when it's been put up against this Dublin side, they just always seem to have an answer, and they always seem to be able to respond. You think back to the 2017 All-Ireland final against Mayo, when it looked like Mayo would actually finally win an All-Ireland, and they were ahead by I think 2 or 3 points going into the final 5 to 6 minutes. And Dublin managed to find a way to respond. And look, listen, Dublin do have the more experienced midfield as well. And in terms of kickouts, Stephen Cluxton is just unbelievable at spotting a free man, at finding the players available. And you look at that Dublin midfield and you wonder how Kerry will live with it. I mean, Brian Fenton, James McCarthy, in particular Brian Fenton, I mean, he is undoubtedly probably the best midfielder in the country at the moment. Maybe Michael Murphy is the only player that can contest him. Dublin just have a superb and unbelievable midfield that is very hard to break down, and once they get going, it's very hard to stop this Dublin side. There's multiple systems that they can play. They can play the forward press, they can play a blanket defence, they can comfortably keep the ball in possession and draw a team's defence and midfield out, and then utilise those spaces. So Dublin just have a number of ways they can play. They have a number of players that they can bring off the bench. You've got Dermot Connolly, who's coming off the bench in an All-Ireland semi-final against Mayo. He's coming off the bench in injury time. I mean, when the game is already won, that just goes to show you how much of a squad this Dublin side have. Con O'Callaghan always seems to really step up when it comes to All-Ireland semi-finals and finals. Paul Mannion's in the form of his life at the moment. Dean Rock, as ever, ever since he got taken out of the team for Cormac Costello, Dean Rock's come in and just been absolutely unbelievable. And even looking at Cormac Costello, who was unbelievable in the early part of this year in the Leinster Championship, he might not even now start in this game, and that's just quite extraordinary. And we haven't even taken into account Jack McCaffrey, his forward runs, coming from the back. The amount of space that he utilises and he capitalises on. And of course Kieran Kilkenny as well, another really well-rounded midfield player that can play as an attacker as well. So yeah, you're looking at Dublin, and you're looking at some of Kerry's defensive issues as well, in my opinion. We have seen at times this year that Kerry, they do play high up. It's similar to Dublin in some ways, the way they leave spaces in behind. We've seen Cork at times get a lot of joy from the ball over the top. We saw Tyrone capitalise on that multiple times with the ball over the top towards Cathal McShane. And Kerry do leave those spaces, and if Dublin get in behind, they will get a lot of goal opportunities. And this Dublin side are ruthless in front of goal. I mean, they hit 5 goals against Cork in a Super 8's game. They hit 3, I think, against Roscommon. They hit another 3 against Mayo. This Dublin team are relentless in front of goal. They can score goals from all angles. And in those forward positions, the interchange between Paul Mannion, Con O'Callaghan, Brian Howard, Kieran Kilkenny, I mean, the list goes on and on. They just have so much talent and so much freedom to be able to play the game at the best of their ability. So you're kind of looking at it and thinking, I mean, I do feel like one day this Kerry side maybe will win an All-Ireland. I don't think we've seen enough from them yet to justify that they will. But I do feel like they're certainly moving in the right direction, and it will be very interesting to see how they compete against Dublin. Will they give Dublin a great game for 50 to 60 minutes, or will Dublin just run away with it? One thing that I think Kerry need to do is they need to start, you know, as good as possible from the early stages. They need to be up for it. They need to show at least that physically they can live with Dublin's pace, at least in the first half, because Dublin in the first half haven't always been at their very best. We've seen Cork utilise some early chances in that game, and we also seen Mayo. They were actually leading Dublin at half time, be it Mayo were playing a completely different system that I think Kerry will play in this game. But certainly the opportunity is there for Kerry, and if they can build up a bit of momentum early on, who knows what might happen. But I just feel that Dublin's experience is just going to be too much. As I was saying earlier, if Kerry do start getting an advantage in one way, Jim Gavin has the tactical knowledge to be able to change the system. You know, if Kerry are getting more joy from kickouts in terms of overloading the 45 to 65 metre line, which, to be honest with you, I don't feel like will happen anyway. I feel like Dublin's midfield are too strong. But if they do, I still feel like there's another system there that Jim Gavin can deploy. There's players on the bench he can bring on if things aren't going well. Kerry do have options from the bench as well, with the likes of Tommy Walsh. So in terms of my overall prediction then, I am going to go ahead and say that Dublin wins this All-Ireland final by 5 points. I feel like Kerry will match Dublin for the opening 50 to 55 minutes, but I just feel like Dublin in the final 15 to 20 minutes, like they do with almost every team they play, they will just have too much. They will have the options from the bench. Conditionally, they're just way better than this Kerry team at the moment. Experience-wise, they have a lot more experience than Kerry as well. Of course, let's not forget, majority of this Kerry side will be playing in their first All-Ireland final. So I just feel like in that avenue, Dublin will just have way too much for Kerry in terms of experience and in terms of, you know, conditional strength. But it will be a close game, and there will be some big moments, and who knows, you know, even as a Dublin fan myself, I obviously want Dublin to win, but I do want it to be a close game. I don't want it to be Dublin just winning by, 10, 15 points and cruising to victory. I would like it to be more of a challenge, just because it makes it more entertaining, and it means there's more to talk about after the match. But we will see what happens. I do feel that Dublin will win by 5 points, but do let me know, guys, down in the comments below what you think will happen. And of course, yeah, lads, this is going to be the end of the video. Of course, I will see you all when the All-Ireland final ends, and I will make a video talking about that. But of course, guys, do let me know down in the comments below what you think will happen. My name is Aaron, and I will catch you all next time.